Well, a very warm welcome to you all, and I'm not used to having mics on, but I'm mic'd up tonight, right, so I hope you can all hear me okay. I think my voice will carry quite well anyhow, right. It's nice to see so many of you here from all aspects of the school, and it's really nice that you made a big effort to come from all over the countries, from Canada, right, from Wales, from Sunderland, right, so, and from Portsmouth. It's been very, very nice that you made a special effort to be here. And I'd like to say a few thanks to people. Before I do that, there will be some little items that will have no names to them for obvious reasons, right? First of all, you'll see printed in the programme people to thank. I'd like to thank three people especially who put a lot of effort in helping me to organise tonight. Right? Patrick Ahern, the catering manager, right, from a brilliant spread for those who are here early on. Thank you very much indeed. And then to Louise Fay for getting all the people to dress up and organising all of that. Not an easy task, persuading people to put different coloured uniforms on and things they're not used to wearing. Right, and finally to Malcolm Bailey, who's put a tremendous amount of effort in, right, in organising, because I'm not very good at IT, but between us we put hopefully a nice programme together for you. And finally, I must thank my wife and family for putting up with me, right, in not only in the preparation of this, but for storing all the junk that I've stored over the years. Hopefully some of it has come to light, which I never knew I had for a long, long time. Right, and that'll come, some few surprises will come towards the end of the evening. So we're going to start this evening, because it involves some prep school, members of the prep school as well. Could I welcome onto the stage the Eric Teenham Singers, conducted by Anna Ingracia, right, will sing the bicentenary anthem, which with the words and music was by Stuart Thompson, who was, right, recently the director of music at the school. So over to the singers. Thank you for coming.
Thank you.
a very nice start to the evening. We're going to start down in Caterham, right, in 1956. It was the centenary of the Caterham line being opened. This was the signal box for those who remember it, right? It's no longer there any longer. Next slide. This is the goods yard. Now you will recognise some of the places here, right? I'm not very good at this sort of used to these things yet. Sorry. Right, that building there was the cinema, right, the Capitol, or the Florida, right, and that is St John's Church, and just down here is where the Valley Hotel used to be. Next slide. Right, this was the advert for the centenary. It should have been on the 5th of August, but because that was a Sunday and people don't like drinking on Sundays, so they moved to a Monday, which happened to be, for those who can remember that far back, right, that was a bank holiday Monday, like it is in Scotland today. They still have their bank holiday at the beginning of August and not at the end. We used to have ours at the beginning. Right, so that was the advertising of it. Right, next one. Right, this is the train arriving with its 3 bird carriages arriving in Caterham. On the station on the special event. Next one. Right, oh dear, this is Mr. Grumpy, right, from the council, right, that was the Caterham and Wallingham Urban District Council then, right, he just put his hand on the boiler, right, so that's why he's looking so grumpy. Next one, right, that is the train now leaving, but right, years ago there was a turntable, but that had long gone before this happened, so the train had to go in reverse and pull the carriages back out of the station. Next one, right, oh dear, this is the luncheon ticket to a lunch at the Soper Hall to mark the occasion, right. There was one volunteer who thought things didn't seem to be going very well, so instead of mixing dry sherry with dry martini, he mixed dry sherry with gin. Right? It had the desired effect. It got everybody going. Right? Now, there was a very important story here because, right, on March the 29th, right, 1974, right, the train took off from Caterham Station. The man came out from his little room and he saw the train, the 6:49, 15 minutes early, on the way out of the station. There was no driver, nobody in it, no guard, nobody. So he very quickly alerted the signalman, who then alerted everybody down the line, so they could open all the gates up. They had to stop all the mainline trains in Purley, right, because it trundled all the way from Caterham, right through Croydon, and they eventually brought it to halt in Norwood Junction, right? That's where they brought it to a halt to, right? It didn't do too much damage when it got to Norwood Junction. It did damage a pair of buffers, right? So the next thing was what the front of the station looked like in 1956, right? With the old coal house there where you put your orders in, and then the next photo, the next one, that's like it was in 1985, right? Now these pictures and the stories have all come from a book written by Geoffrey Spence, spelt rather funny, right? Jeoffry. Spence. Now he lived up on the hill. He used to frequent the Old Boys Rugby Club, and he drank 2-ball at the club. So it's a very appropriate in the railway sign. His name in Manor Avenue for his house was 2-ball Colt. Now we're moving on now to the Hairstone Valley Road, right? Now the Hairstone Valley Road in those days was pretty bad, right? It was not made up. Right, there was lots of disputes went on about having it made up, right, who's going to pay for it and all this sort of thing, but finally, in 1965, they decided that the council was going to adopt it, that they were going to charge people for it, and the school had a big bill, right, it took them 15 years to pay it off, right. Now, during that time, right, somebody from the second form, somebody from the third form, right, wrote a poem. Right, 2 poems altogether. So we're going to hear them tonight, and Chris Smith is going to read the first one. It's called Despair. So Chris, I'd like to come and read the poem, please. come here, they got you all mic'd up if you go there.
Despair. A year ago the road was bad, covered in pits and bumps. When roadwork started we were glad that it would lose its lumps. However, after months of work, our hopes have been destroyed, for mud and other hazards lurk, and everyone's annoyed. Mere handfuls of the workers do, at any time, much labour. So now it's dangerous to go to see your next door neighbour. The urban district councils say that they'll improve roads for you. But if they do it in this way, don't let them, I implore you.
Thank you very much. I know Caitlin Mears is going to read Hope.
Hope. Hairstone Valley's not delightful, now they're making up the road. Not with pick and axe, but frightful noisy engines under load. The road holds many perils, and if you do not watch your step, and if you are not careful, there'll be mud upon your prep. But when the road is finished, and all is put to right, to ride up Hairstone Valley will be a sheer delight.
Now, about a certain headmaster who was caught speeding up the Hairstone Valley Road. So when the policeman stopped him, he said, "Sir, do you know that you're going far, far too fast?" He said, "I'm sorry, officer." He said, "You do know that there's a school up the end of this road?" He said, "Yes, and I'm the headmaster." Now, there was 3 different parts to the school at that time, not like today, just got 2 parts, it was 3 parts. Right, you either went to the prep school, up to the A, well, alpha, or no, it was beta, alpha, we'll get it right way around, beta first, then alpha, then 1, 2, right, we're in the prep school, and then the 3rd form was sent to Beach Hanger, right, and the rest of the people, 4th form upwards, came here. So I'm going to start off by looking at the prep school first, right, and the first headmaster of the prep school was a Mr. Soderberg, right. This Mr. Soderberg, he was rather unique, right? He was headmaster of the prep school from its inception in 1935 until 1966, right? And after that, right, but he had 2 right-hand ladies, right? Miss Burgess and Miss Odling. Now, someone said the other day they thought Miss Odling was a bit dishy. That's what the boys told me that. I didn't say that, right? And there was another lady called Miss Martin who worked in the office. But these 2, with Mr. Soderberg, actually ran the prep school, right? They actually did everything over there. Even ran it during the Christmas holidays for people who had nowhere to go. They looked up the prep school and people could go there and stay. They were then followed in 1966 by Mr. Churchill. I don't know, I haven't seen Mrs. Churchill. She said she was coming. Oh, she is here. Brilliant. Brilliant. And her son is so lovely. That made my day. Right? Now, Mrs. Churchill, when she came, poor soul, she had a really rough time. Because all these spinsters and bachelors, they ran the school the way they wanted to run it. But she was young and vibrant and wanted to change things, and it took her quite a long time to get things changed. But eventually she did, and then they were there from 1966 to 1981. And in the next photograph, we've got the handover from Mr. Churchill, right, to Mr. Hawkins. Right? Now, Mr. and Mrs. Hawkins are here tonight, but come on to them in a few minutes' time. This is the handover, right? And in the next photograph, right, we have a nice young lady. Now, I wonder whether this is the first prize of the evening. You only can get 1 prize each. You can't be greedy and ask for lots of prizes, right? Now, what is the name of that young lady in that photograph? A lot of you know who it is. What is her name? Sorry, so hand up. So I've got my skirts here. We're looking to see who's putting their hand up. Yes? Right, Rebecca Huncho. So, there the gentleman nearest to Tinley. Right, well done. Rebecca now teaches classes at the school. Right, so it's lovely that they're all here sitting together tonight. And then in 1991, Mr. Moy came and stayed to the year 2000, and this is Mr. Moy of the prep school children, and it's nice that Mrs. Moy is here tonight. Right, and then following on from that, for a very short while was Mrs. Owen Hughes, who stayed from 2000 to 2005, and then the present incumbent, right, looking nice and jolly, right, he's still headmaster of the prep school. And it's going from strength to strength. It's lovely to see how different headmasters have taken the prep school from what it was rather austere and not very rich to a nice, vibrant environment now. Of course, obviously, there's a lot younger children there now. We'll come on to those later on. Now, I want you to look very carefully, right, at the next two photographs. So we're going to show them. Right, consecutively, there's one, and there's the next one. So look, the next one. What is the difference? Yes, Miss. Is that a difference? Yes. Headmaster's house. Gentlemen here, headmaster's house. You can only have one. You can only have one prize. You can only have one. Right, that was built from the 1966, from the money from the 1961 appeal. That's what that was. So can we now move on now to the next one, right? And we're going to have coming down here, right, one person dressed in the old green blazer. So someone on the way down in a green blazer. So where's the person in the green blazer, right, that the prep school used to wear? And then we've got also two in the new burgundy blazer that the prep school where these days. Here they come, so give them a round of applause. So the name says the gentleman in green is Jeremy Chang, right? Hey. Thank you. Now, there's a question to see if who's alert and who knows much about the school, right? Can anybody give me the names of two, I would say two, of the prep school houses pre-merger? Ashton, Emlyn, right, thank you. Ashton, Emlyn, Pallister, and Phillips were the other two. They were named after masters. Now, can anybody tell me now what is the name of the present houses? Two of them. Right, something there, Viewpoint and Pilgrim, sorry. Yes, and Foxborough as well. Right, now on we go. The next one is, you saw a few minutes ago, these gentlemen's here tonight. Right, Dr. Hall was the headmaster here, and he set up a Dr. Hall scholarship, and the first two people to win that scholarship was Mark Mears, the gentleman there, and Tom Lumsden is here. Right, this is Mr. Churchill, and that's Mr. Hawkins, and that's Mr. Bevington Smith. But they were the first two people on the list up there, right, on the top, who won the Dr. Hall scholarship. Right, and as Mark said, that was his daughter down here reading just now. Right, so thank you, Mark. Right, and the Mere family. Now we move on to Shirley Goss. This is an early photograph of Shirley Goss, a very early photograph of it. Right, lots of it hasn't been added on, but I think you can see the transformation in the next photograph. Right, all the bits that have been added on, the nice tennis courts. Right, before the merger, there used to be grass courts years ago. It used to be grass ones and very difficult to keep in order, right? But it's beautiful. So that's the prep school, right? Now we have here drama. Drama was very popular in the prep school. There was two gentlemen who ran a lot of drama, right? Cowes and Johnson, you're correct, right? And the two people in this photograph are two brothers. They're Chris and Tim Rose. And I'm delighted that Chris is here tonight, right? Now, you can see how things have changed when we got, see, no girls in those days. Now, look at this, this is Zoom, right? Vibrant, everything nice, you know, lively. Not that they weren't lively, no, but you can see how much we've improved, right? Everything. Lighting in the Soderberg Hall, right? That was revamped a few years ago, which is absolutely lovely, right? So we move on now, right? In the early days, well, Nick Johnson, we said, and Tony Cowes, they used to put on 20 or 30 plays, right? They were like Tweedledee and Tweedledum, right? But they were marvellous. They did a really, really good job. And one person who helped them at the front of house, in all the ones I can remember, was a gentleman called John Robinson Fuller. Now he was known for his rum truffles that he sold at half time, right? And to make some money obviously, because we were quite poor in those days, so we had to make money somehow, right? But he was more than just that. He was a scout leader. He led the school scouts. He was district commissioner for scouts, right? And unfortunately in 1970 the scouts sort of disbanded, but in place of that he introduced what we have today, which is the Duke of Edinburgh's Award. And he introduced that, and you can see it's gone from absolute strength to strength. The number of people doing the D of E is enormous, and I'm very grateful that my son had a chance to do D of E here. Now we move on to those names. They will mean nothing to some of you, but to some of us they mean a lot. They're the people who've had to put up with Caterham School, Prep School and Shirley Goss. Right? They're the people who live around them. Right? The Villas family, and more recently the Gabains, right? And then Mrs. Cairncross can't be here today because she's in Australia, a bit too far to come. But we have got, right, Mr. and Mrs. Barber here. And I was absolutely delighted when their daughter Martha came to the school, right? I thought that was a very nice fitting end to the connections with the school. Mrs. Gabain's son, Richard, he was in the school when I joined it, but he's in Australia as well now. I don't know what I think he does. I think he runs a swimming pool company over there in Australia. Now we move on to that place up called Beach Hanger. Right? This was a transition house. This is where all the third formers went. They thought this would soften things up a little bit before they came to the main school. They thought if they came to the main school, that would have been a bit hard on them. So they went to Beach Hanger. Oh yes, they had lessons up there, and we'll see the Beach Hanger dining room in a minute. That's what the dining room was like. Right? And if you look, that door up in the corner there, that one, went into one classroom, and this door here went into another classroom. They lived in Beach Hanger, the boarders did, right? And they had all their food over there as well. If we go on one, you'll see what Beach Hanger was like in the 1980s. Much different tables then, and much more civilised, right? People all sat down and ate together. Now, we move on to the main school, the big school, right? Now I want you to look very carefully at the next two photographs, right? So we're going to show them. That's number one, right? And then number two. Oh, I haven't asked the question yet. So, since you answered my question, I'll ask another one. Right? Whose car? Whose car is that? Because the gentleman is here tonight. Who owned that car? Martin Nunn, who was that? So someone preempted my question. Yes, it was. Right, the tower was taken down. I know there's been various attempts or suggestions of putting a lighter one up, because that was quite heavy. In fact, I've still got a piece of the tower in my garage at home. Right. So, we now go on to the next photograph of the front of the school. Oh, we've gone past one.
Sorry?
Oh, this is Nigel's pride and joy. Now, the minibuses, we've got a fleet of them now. It's just like, it's enormous, the transport here now. It's actually fantastic. They come from everywhere. But we had one master, who, a lovely chap he was, really, really nice, but he had no sense of direction.
Morally.
Right? And on one occasion, we were both going to Brighton. But I went to Brighton, and he went to Dover. Another occasion, he thought we would use the modern technology, that's the internet, in case you don't know, right? And he got St Dunstan's College up, St Dunstan's School, so he got it all up, off he went. And when he got down, he said, "That's funny, I can't see a cricket pitch here." So instead of going to St Dunstan's in Catford, he went to St Dunstan's Blind School. So that's why he couldn't find the pitch. Right, when we talk about St Dunstan's, we did have one black mark. Well, we do have black marks occasionally. I think it was about 1984, where we used to play biannually at the Oval, the St Dunstan's Caterham match. But unfortunately, I think it was a bank holiday Monday, and quite a few of the pupils went up to watch it, and they disgraced themselves, unfortunately, so we've never played St Dunstan's at the Oval since. So I think we've got to know these things because they're not recorded anywhere. So, the next one is Terry Leatham. Right? A man from Northern Ireland, an Irishman. Right? He went and he was in Norway during the war, right? And he was sent back from Norway, and he was sent to Bletchley Park, and he worked on the Enigma project there. I think they used him, right, because we had a good understanding of not just German, I think old-fashioned German as well. But a lot of his family didn't know anything about him, right? His daughter is here tonight, which is lovely. We'll come to her in 1 second, right? He was a very shrewd man, right? A very caring man, but not very good at mathematics. I remember John Jones having a big sort of discussion with him. Well, I don't know if it was a discussion or not, but we won't go into that. When we expanded the school from 2-stream to 3-stream, and John was head of chemistry, and they obviously had to have more labs. So he said to Terry Leatham, we're going from 2 to 3, we need another lab. No, he said, no, we don't need a lab. You're not increasing the school by 50%. You're only increasing the school by 33 and a third %. And John could never get across to him that it was going up by 50%. He came to Caterham from Ludlow School, right, in January 1950. Right? Now we carry on to term dates. What's that up to? Well, the school's completely different then. Terms were shorter, right? But half terms were shorter as well. So whereas you had nearly 4 weeks, or sometimes 4 weeks for half term and 8 weeks in the summer, so 4 weeks for Easter and Christmas and 8 weeks in the summer, right? Half terms were only about 3 or 4 days. You quite often went off on a Friday lunchtime and you came back on a Tuesday lunchtime, or Tuesday mid-morning. Right? The school never closed. The school was always open. A boarder never had to go home from one end of the term to the other. Not at fixed weekend or weekend exit. He or she could stay here all the time. Housemasters of the boarding houses used to take it in turns. to run the house over half term. So no boy ever felt he was pushed out of school at any time at all. But Jerry Leatham, one of his main goals was to change the house system. That was one of his main goals. He wanted, up until then, right, the school was made up of 4 houses, right, a mixture of day boys, boarders, and boarders and day boys and boarders together, right? But he wanted to stop that. Now, can anybody tell me what the name of those 4 houses were? North, south, west. Oh, I don't know what in first there. It was north, east, south, west. Very original, of course, right? But it was north, east, south, west, right? Nearly all the West House was made up of Welshmen, right? And they were always good at rugby. If you came from north of Caterham, you were in North House. And obviously if you were east, you went to east, and south, you went to south, right? But he wanted to get this changed. And he got it changed in 1958. He changed the whole lot. He changed it from 3 boarding houses only, right, which were Beachhanger, Townsend and Viney, and he had 2 day boy houses. Now, can anybody tell me what the first 2 day boy houses were called? Hairstone and Lewisham. I think we're going to give a prize to somebody, right? Now, the school expanded, right, from 2-stream to 3-stream in 1971. We seem to have a fascination with ones in this school. Lots of things happened in the year ending in 1. I don't have anything to do with national census or not, but certainly in 1971 we went from 2-stream to 3-stream. So an extra stream in the prep school then fed its way into the main school in 1973. Right? This created 2 new day boy houses, Aldecombe and Underwood. The colours that they were going to have, that's the red and the emerald green, were chosen by a committee. They chose them. But very few people knew how they were allotted. One to red to Aldecombe and the green to Underwood. Well, the two housemasters that were designated to take over the houses was John Bowden, right, for Underwood, and myself for Aldecombe. Well, he was a Welshman, and I'm a Cornishman, right? I don't like green, and he wanted red as well, and so I wanted red. So we tossed a coin, right, in the headmaster's study. I won the toss, so that's why Aldecombe is red, and Underwood is green. Right? Now, I'll carry on with the house system so that you know where everything came from. Right? With the merger in 1995, Ridgefield was created. This was the name of the 6th form building at Yothan. That's where the name Ridgefield came from, and they adopted the Beachhanger dark green colours. And then in the bicentenary, right, Newington came into existence. There's a question. Where did the name Newington come from? Oh, silence. I know. Yes? Right, well done, Mr. Jones. It's where the school was started. It was started in Newington. That's where the school was founded, right, in 1811. Now we come on to what the next thing, right, is who was dressed in 1956. And here we have people coming down in what it looked like then, right? Chris Smith and Seb Kenzie, and they're in the old-fashioned way. And then we've got one who looks rather daft, right? Oh, he's a bit posh. Right? No, listen very carefully. He was a good sportsman. He won his school colours. That's why he was allowed to wear that. Right? The other 2 didn't. So they were they were a mixture of everything. Some had blazers on, right, some didn't. But this gentleman, he could only wear that because he got his colours at some sport or other. Thank you, gentlemen, very much indeed for coming. Well done. run away. Hippolyte's come along to see us. Right, now this is what it looks like. Right, a little later on, 1958. Because in 1958, what was created in 1958? No, what was it created? I've told you already tonight, so you haven't been listening. What was created in 1958? The new houses. The new houses. So Terry Deaton said we must have it changed. Right? So he decided that all the school in the junior section and the lower six would be in this kind of blazer with the old motto on it. Right? And that gentleman there, he now can wear it because he's either a prefect or later on because he was in the upper sixth. So he was allowed to wear it. But that went from being a colours blazer to a sixth form blazer. Thank you, gentlemen. Right. The names of those people there was Aaron and George Thomas came on in the school blazers. Thank you. And the motto on the blazers was Omnia Vincis Perseverando. What did it mean? Right, perseverance conquers all. You see, we've got some good people here tonight. Right, they know the Latin. Right, then we go on to the most important thing of all, the direct grant system. Well, that was already in situ for a long time before we started this period of 60 years ago. Right? And a lot of people, and quite a number in this room, benefited from that system. It gave people from all walks of life a chance to come to a school like this. Right? They had to pass an exam set by the local, or set by us, and if we awarded them a place, the local council paid for it. That was Surrey County Council paid for it. But it did give an extra dimension to the school. Right? Something which has gradually dwindled over the years. Right? We have people from all over the country, all walks of life, right, mixing together, and they learn from each other. Right? And that was one of the great things of the direct grant system. It had a downside to it, but it brought a lot of money into the school. Now, why was there a downside? The downside was because the local government, or local Surrey Council, were giving us money. And they said, we will control how much you put your fees up by each year. Right? And they weren't very generous. They tried to keep it as low as possible. And the school was quite poor. It had a rich atmosphere to it. But it gave headmasters nightmares. Right? It did. Nearly all the previous headmasters, and even including, right, Terry Leatham, all had to have, right, a sabbatical at some stage, right, because the pressure got to them. And for one poor gentleman, Alan Mottram, it was too much. And he couldn't stand it at all. And that was the sad thing about the school at that time. It was under terrible pressure for financial. Now, we want to now look at, right, what the conditions were like in 1956. That is a prep school dormitory for those over here. Right, more to come. Right? Now we come on to the main school dormitory. Right? And just so that you can see how Spartan, but they were very happy. Right? See those pipes there? That was the pupils' form of drying their kit. So they dried all their kit, rugby kit, all times of the year in their dormitories. There was no other place. Right? You'll see in between the beds here, lockers. That was the only thing they had to keep their personal belongings in. They weren't allowed to have any extra clothing. They could only have the school clothing, or hanging up somewhere was their best suit, which they would use for going to church. right? Now we've gone to the next one, next photograph. You can see how they packed them in. Right? There was 25, 30 in some of the dormitories. Right? There was 60, over 60 boarders in one house. Right? So the clothing was restricted, but there was some people who could, but in their spare time, and the gentleman's going to come down with his Harris tweed jacket on. He was very privileged to be able to wear this outside of school time. So when Jeremy Chang can come down, right, he can run down. Right, here we are. Here he is. Right, now that's what the Harris tweed jacket like. Right, and there used to be about 3 different colours of that, and that's one of them. Thank you very much indeed. Washrooms off the dormitories, right? But the baths was a different matter. They were very, very big, right? And they didn't like using too much water. So I was told that at some stage, right, there was a ruler, a piece of wood, and the member of staff would make sure that you didn't fill the bath more than a certain depth. But baths were on a rota. Oh yes, you could have a bath any time you like. Right? If you were in the 3rd, 4th and 5th form, or 3rd and 4th form, you had a bath once a week. Right? If you were in the 5th form, you might have been lucky and got 2. And if you were in the 6th form, well, that was a little bit more relaxed. But 1 or 2 people got caught out, one person got caught out here. He was bathing too late at one night and he got held. Right? He got put in detention, I think, for doing that, because he was up too late having a bath. Right? But what about showers? Showers. They did not exist. They did not exist. Now, can anybody tell me how many showers do you think there were for nearly 50 boys in Beach Hanger in 1985? Is it 1, 2, 3, or 4? Anybody? Yes? 1. You're correct. There was 1 shower for 50 people. Right? Obviously, it changed. Right? It had to change. Now, boarding today, much, much different. Right? As you can see, it's very nice. Boy boarders. Now, that's Marie Dogwell, and here's Samantha Barton, right, with the girls. Right? Now, things are much better. I'm going on to show you a photograph, right? And that was the school room, right? That is down where the IT room is now, or I think it's the English room now, all that corridor along there, that was the school room. That was the room from hell, right? Some staff, because the boarders' prep was done in there, and some staff would pay other staff to take it for them. They could not stand it at all. Now, we move on. What was it like for the boarders? Right? Prefects and monitors, they ruled the place. Right? Some people were very happy here. Unfortunately, some people hated the place. You either liked it or you didn't. Oh, we have a photograph here of some school prefects and monitors. I'm sorry it's 1955, right, this photograph, but if this thing works properly, there are 2 people on this photograph who are here tonight, right? And that is that gentleman standing there, and that gentleman standing, I think, there. Right? Am I right? No, I've got this is me come and have a look. Right? Is that one there, isn't it? Down? There. That's the 2 gentlemen. If you stand up, gentlemen, there's these 2 gentlemen there. Important people, you don't realise that. Colin here does a tremendous job. He's the archivist, and he spends hours doing records and all. Dennis Finley, right? He was the treasurer of the Old Seas for 29 years and only relinquished the post earlier this year. The president as well. Right, now we move on to a photograph now, or we used to use surnames in those days. Right, we didn't call boys by the Christian names, it was always surnames. Right, now that's a photograph. It's not the whole school, it's not the whole school at all. Only 26 staff there, that includes 2 headmasters. Right, now you can see where the staff are. Well, they disappeared in the independent spirit, and they only put part of the photograph in. But 12 of those people in that photograph, right, dedicated their life to at least 30 years in the school. You know, Redden, Maddock, Forster, R. Davis Jones, all of those people gave a short in the prep school, Robinson Fuller, they all gave a tremendous amount of time, right, to the school. And that was taken in July 1955. That was in September 1955, right, there was a change, right? Nick Skews came to the school. Nick is here. He's one of the 2 masters that I know of who are still alive. They were here teaching in 1955, right? The other gentleman, right, Dennis Tucker, who threw the javelin in the Commonwealth Games. I saw him a few months ago, but he's not well enough at the moment. Nick joined the staff, I said, in September 1955. He got a hockey blue at Cambridge. At Caterham he coached hockey. Right, he ran the boarding house Viney. Right, he was a physics teacher and then became head of department. And he retired in 1984. But one of the things he did was he organised the raising of money to put down the first all-weather, right, pitch. And this was played on an inaugural match in March the 5th, 1972, when he got past captains 15 against a county all-stars 15. Now, in those days, everybody did everything, right? We were all doing everything. Nick's passion, and I did it as well, don't worry, right, is what comes up next, right? Now, I could not resist taking a photograph of this at the Eden Bridge show this year. I got my wife to take it, I make it, right? Take a photograph of it. That was a copy, that was like the tractor, the president's tractor, that used to be on the first all-weather pitch. And Nick spent, like many people did, hours going up and down, making sure it was nice and flat. Because not like today's pitches, right? With that pitch, if you didn't get it flat and it came to frost, you couldn't play on there for weeks and weeks at a time. The reason we laid the first all-weather pitch was because in the spring term, very little hockey was played. Well, I remember one occasion, boys spent time rolling up the snow so we could play an old boys match, right? And we put the lines down in pink so we could see where the pitch was, right? So he was then followed, right? And Ray came at the same time as I did, right? And that's Ray who's here. Now Ray has just written a lovely little book, which I suggest you buy. It's by the Bourne Society, all about the Hairstone Valley Road. Right? He has written, I think, 5 other more expensive books on travel, right? But they are not in my pocket at all. I think they're about £200 a time, right? But Ray was there taking the cross-country team there. You can see the boys weren't overweight in those days. We didn't have any problems with that. Now what happened next? Well, the Parents Association was formed. That was formed in 1972, right? And one of the people who was the instigator in that there was Dr. John Owen. He was the second chairman of the Parents Association, but he was the one, right, who got things rolling, right? And I'm delighted that he's made all his way up from Swanage tonight to be with us here today. A big round of applause for John. also had 3 boys in the school, right? He also, the idea of the Parents Association was, yes, to raise money. That's always the case, it still is, and we've got several of the Parents Association today doing a wonderful job of raising money. But it also took over the running of the school ball. Now, up until that, there was 4 very important people who ran it. Dr. John Owen and his wife, right? Ed and Ann Smitheram, right? The Jeffcoats, they ran it as well, right? And the Burnses, I think I got that right. They were the 4 sets of parents who ran it down at the Russ Hill Hotel, down at Copthorne, Charlwood Way, and they ran that for several years. But then Ed moved on, and things changed, right? So then the Parents Association took it over. Right, now how the school has changed academically, right? What major change took place is a question on February the 15th, 1971. Decimalisation, use that, Mr. Hayes? Right, Mr. Hayes there, decimalisation. Right, this changed everything, right? Not just money. Up until then, I looked at the 1963 paper the other day, maths paper. It had pounds, shillings and pence on it. It had yards, feet and inches on it, right? They've long gone. But there was one unit that we still use today. Now, I don't want to give any secrets away of what you do in your spare time, right? But what are the 2 major horse racing events that are run at Newmarket, right, that share the same name of an old unit of currency? Guineas. Right, who is that? I think down here somewhere. Guineas. Right, yes, Mr. Burns there. Give Mr. Burns a present there. Guineas. Right, yes, just in front, that's it. Right, no. Right, so Guineas was the unit of, what was a guinea? And why were they used? Right? £1 and a shilling, correct. Right? And in fact, in 1931, the school fees were set in guineas in 1931. But why were things sold in guineas? Well, the reason was, I think Caterham still sell them. I was just talking 2 weeks ago to John Needham, who buys and sells racehorses, right? Doesn't gamble. He buys and sells racehorses. Right, and they still use guineas. Like, if you bought a horse, you paid for it in guineas. The person who sold the horse got paid the same number of pounds, and the difference went to the auctioneer. So that's where he got his 5% commission from. How has teaching changed? How has teaching changed? From right, chalk on a blackboard, then to pens on a whiteboard, and now interactive whiteboards and televisions, TVs. Teaching is now less formal. Well, I don't know if some of my pupils still think that or not, right? With more visual aids, right? Communication with parents. Well, when I came, every parent got one report on one side of foolscap. That's very similar, in case you don't know, to A4. Right, slightly longer and slightly narrower. And all the subjects were listed. I never understand why they had to put the weight of a person on there as well. That never got to me at all. Right? And the secret of being a teacher was, you got your report by head. Because if you made a mistake, you had to go groveling around other people who had already written the reports to get them to rewrite it. And there were a few members of staff who were a little bit grumpy, who didn't like that. Right? And, right, in the staff room, right, in the early 60s, still in the early 60s, right, certain staff had certain chairs. And God help you if you sat in the wrong chair. There was a very young member of staff at the school at the time. It must be about 1963 or 4, by the name of Ed Smitheram. And he's here today. He was very sort of lively at that stage. He had a rugby ball, this come from the truth, right? And he passed this rugby ball, but the person who was catching it missed. So it hit Mr. Maddock on the head. And he'd been asleep. So he woke up. He said, "God damn you, boy, God damn you." And went back to sleep again. Right? Then he went to 3 on a sheet, then 1 on a sheet. Then we did them on computers. And now they're sent electronically. So see how things have moved on in the last 60 years. Letters. We used to get a few letters, not very many. It took time for people to write a letter. It doesn't seem to take parents very long to write emails now. Right? They come very thick and fast, especially if you do something wrong. But it's funny. When a letter came, you had a chance to read it, they didn't expect a reply for 2 or 3 days. When an email comes, they think you don't teach, you don't work, and you can reply right away. Now, we had old Caterham days. These were big events, especially in the summer. The summer was 2 or 3 days long. They come on a Friday and go on a Sunday. Right, they used to sleep in the sand, they used to sleep in the boarding houses. There'd be 30 or 40 old boys here. Right? But gradually that number has dwindled and we don't get anybody staying now. Right? Now, the old boys used to have the AGM up in the old, where the library is now. Right? That's a picnic of the old Caterhamians. That's them having a picnic. No people recognise anybody there. You see how many people were there for that reunion. Right? But they used to have the AGM. But unfortunately, the headmaster used to attend the AGM. But once upon a time, one time, he forgot to change his clock. And when he arrived for the AGM, he found everyone was having coffee. But they were very forgiving. They were very forgiving. Right? Now the connection with the congregational URC church. The URC church was formed in 1972. Right? This congregational church is what the school was founded on, right? And our roots go back to educating sons of educational ministers. Now we educate children of educational ministers. We used to go to the church, right? The URC church, 2 or 3 times a term. Right? The master was a hell of a job taking boys down there, right? Because they had their own little space. They used to spend their time carving into the furniture in the church, right? Then another member of staff, he had to take them to the Anglican church, and we had a few with the lady up to the Catholic church. But when you went to church, you couldn't just go down to the village or stay in the village. You had to come back straight away. If you wanted to stay, you had to get special permission to stay down there. Then the school, right, decided to have a chaplain. Now, up until then, right, Dirk Richmond used to come up here on a Tuesday morning and see some of the classes and talk to some of the classes. I'm delighted that his wife is here tonight. Thank you for coming. Right? We still have a connection, obviously, with the church. Roy Robinson was the first chaplain, then Raymond Lewis, then Reverend Linfield, and now we have Reverend Merkel. And he's been here now for 16 years. Right? He's done a splendid job. Thank you, Rick. I'm hoping that we're going to have, before that, it's anybody's birthday today. Anybody got a birthday? Nobody got a birthday today. Anybody got a birthday tomorrow? Anybody had a birthday yesterday? Yes? No, anybody got a birthday on Tuesday? Nobody? Oh dear. Anyhow, we'll still have the brass band, right, the 2 trombonists, right, are going to come down, and I'll tell you why. That's William Kwan and George Thomas. Over to you to play Happy Birthday. Upstairs here, right, where the Townsend Master study is. That was where I lived in the retreat. But he came down the steps and went straight on. And he knocked hard on the door. It was Sunday morning. And the headmaster came out in his night attire. And he said, "Skinner, what are you doing here?" He said, "I've come to wish Mr. Rogers happy birthday." But I never got the happy birthday, so that's why I got it played today. On Terry Leeson's last assembly here in December 1973, it was a very sad occasion, losing such a nice man, right? But he was held in great affection, right? And hopefully something might happen in a minute, right? This is the Leeson family. Taken outside, you all know where that is. Well, perhaps you haven't been to the headmaster's study too often. That's in front of the headmaster's study. And in those days, the lawn ran right down to the road, and there was a tennis court at the bottom. Right? That's Mr. Leatham, right? And Mrs. Leatham, and the lady standing is here tonight, Elizabeth, and Jack in arms. Right? And on that last assembly, right, something ascended. I hope that's going to happen today. Something's going to come down, and down, and down, and down. And I'm hoping that Joe Falcon's going to be on the end of it in a minute, right? And he's going to present it, because that's what happened on that day of the last assembly. Right, Terry Leatham was given a teddy bear just as a headmaster, right? Right. Liz, please accept this gift from us, in recognition of your father. He was held in great affection. There's the lady over there. Affectionately as the bear, right, with no malice at all. Then we had the arrival of Stephen Smith, right, good sportsman, excelled at rugby, Cambridge Blue, played for England, I think he played for India as well, right, and when he arrived, right, the school's finances were very dodgy. They were not on very good sound at all. Every penny counted, every penny we could get. Right, we went to all extremes to get some money, and here we are, a bill, right, an incidental bill, right, and you'll notice on there they were charged for a fixture list, they were charged for haircuts, they were charged to go away and playing away teams, right, when you came back from taking a team away, you had to go into the staff room and fill in a book so you could get charged for it. Fortunately, a lot of that has changed, but there's one little very interesting item up there, and I don't know if any parents objected to it. It was said for unreported breakages. And any unreported breakages, the total cost of the term was divided out and charged to each parent. I don't think that would be done very well today, right? You've got charged for the scouts. You've got charged for the magazine. But there was one occasion when they went on a school camp. It didn't cost as much as they expected. So they got a refund. Right? But it was in the form of a postal order. I don't expect a lot of you know what a postal order is. Right? So we had to get more money. So we had to have major appeals. We had 3 major appeals: 1961, 1976 and 1984. The first 2 were successful, and the third one was a flop. Right, the first 2 in today's term all raised over £1.5 million. Right, this was a 1961 chronicle for the 1961 appeal. Right, and I'm pleased to say we have 2 important guests here tonight. One is phoning from Canada, Graham Mew, and the other one is Robin Stoll's come up from Portsmouth, because it is Graham's grandfather who was the treasurer for that appeal, and it was Perry's grandmother who was the secretary for that appeal. But Perry's grandmother was the niece of Mottram. But they did a great job in raising that money, right, which did a lot of things for the school. Right? It put up things that the school could not afford if it wasn't through that. They built the new SAN. The SAN was what is now called the Innovation Centre. Right? It was the SAN. The SAN moved down to what is called the laundry now. Right? And now the SAN and the ladies here, Leslie Payne is here, is now up in heaven. Right? In the top of the new building. Right? So you'll see how things have changed. But in that chronicle, there are three people's names, 3 firms. J.J. Brown, still here. His number of his business is different. Right, it was 39, but now it's 33. When they built the new shops, K-Tax, and another name that's on there is Latham's Dairies, and Latham's were old boys at the school, and Andrew came here, and his father before him, and his uncle, right? And they were great supporters of the school. Then they also moved that piece of block, right? It's called the Hairstone. Right? They moved it from down the road. Excuse the people smoking in it. Right? It wouldn't be allowed these days. Right? But they moved it up to its present site, and that was Ford and Price, I think, paid for the moving of that, right, in 1961. Now we have then a photograph, right, of the home field. Now that gentleman there is Alan Moncrief. He later became Sir Alan Moncrief. For those in the school now, we have the Moncrief-Jones Science Society. That's where the name comes from. He was also president of the school. Now we move on to the most important. This is very. I'll show you this. Right, it's got lots of things in it. Right, I'm going to point on my little gun. Right, now I reckon this was taken about the early 1960s. That little hut there, right, is where the humanities block is now. Right, and that was the workshops. That's where Roy Williams and his team operated from. There was a thing out where the refectory is now, where the carpenter worked from, but he was only interested in 6-inch nails. Right? Anything else he was asked to repair, he always used 6-inch nails. Right? Over there, since that photograph was taken, they built a block up and over to the top. It was originally the master apartment, but I don't know why. We seem to still have on the end of that building the master apartment. Although it moved from there 20 years ago. But the board is still there, right, saying what it is. We'll come back to that. And there's your famous tower there. Right, we'll move on. So I've got to get through all these things to tell you. Right, so benefactors, the old cats, they put a lot of money in. But there's lots of names that you may have seen on buildings in the school. Carmichael, Humphreys, Oliver Humphreys, Gordon Ibrahim, Maggs, Rignall, and Young. They're names you've seen. Right, following the death of Mr. and Mrs. Bignell's eldest son in 1971, they, along with an anonymous donation from somebody who wanted to put money in memory of Mr. Young, they built a new chemistry and biology block. Do you know what the name of that block is today? Where is that block? Sorry? No? Oh, someone said it? I think someone said the name. You've answered the question already, Mr. Hayes. Right. It's very nice that you're enthusiastic. Sorry? Someone there, right, we give somebody, I think it's the history block and the sort of RS block. That's what it is now. Right? And we go to a photograph. Now, who do you think is the important people in this photograph? Don't say me. Right? There are two important people in this photograph. One, whose two brothers are here tonight, right? And that's the gentleman sitting, a little bit surly-faced looking, right? There, right? Now, that's one. And the other one is that gentleman over there, whose three children are here today. Right? That's Andy Steepens, the first one. Right? Unfortunately, he can't be here tonight, but I did see him a few weeks ago. And it was very nice when they come and opened up the Deaton sort of room in the Performing Arts Centre. But Mr. Burns, Philip Burns, a master here for lots of years, right? But it was his ancestors. If it wasn't through them, this school would not be here today. In real terms, between that gentleman's grandfather and that gentleman's uncle, right, they put equivalent to millions into this school. Right? The name of the house down the road here, which the chaplain lives in, is called Corrigan's. The name of the house that Mr. Burns retired to, right, in Norfolk, in Norwich, right, is called Corrigan's. It means the rock. It's an Irish name, right? And this school had been built on rocks, but from people like them. If it wasn't for people like them, this school could not be here. So it's lovely to have all the three Burns family here today. Thank you for coming. Right, the school struck a bit of gold at one stage. Right, we had that was the memorial hall built right after the recognition of those who died in the First World War. Right, very poignant of today. Right, now we've got a nice little photograph coming up next with. Now, whose room is that today? Whose room is that today?
Library.
Yes, careers room. No, it's a careers room. It's Claire Brown's room. Right? That was the library in those days because the memorial hall was the school assembly hall. It had a stage at the far end, and initially staff sat on the stage. There was always little games played with the staff. They tried to sit on the next person's gown. So when they got up, there'd be a grip or something, or some promotion or other. Right? Now, this is an interesting photograph. Right, this is the old swimming pool, built in the late 1890s. It was a heated swimming pool, one of the first in the south of England. That black bit on the side there is not mould, right, in case you thought it was mould. Right, this bit over here. Those things stacked up there. Those there are boards, and they were used in the winter to fill in the swimming pool. I gather from a good source that they eventually ended up in the old Caterham Rugby Club. Right? When I came here first, they weren't here. Right? But the swimming pool was. Right, and it was drained at this time of term, a half term it got drained until the Easter holidays. And the school was so poor, we actually used to do all painting of scenery in there. John Bleach used to paint scenery in the swimming pool. Right, that was a nice place. It was pretty cold. Right, a nice place to do the painting. Now we move on one. That's the new swimming pool. Right, so and we move on again. Now who's the important person in that photograph? And why? Right? It's not this gentleman, poor gentleman here, right? Ian Gillis, right? He was running a restaurant in South Africa, and one of his workers decided to put end to his life. So he's no longer with us. Is that gentleman there? Why is that unique? Why is that unique? Why me in charge of swimming? Why is that unique? Because I can't swim. I was in charge of swimming for 2 years. So that's what the school was. Right? And well, there was a long pole in the corner with a loop on it. I was strong enough in those days to fish them out. Right? And then we went a bit further, went down to the independence. Right? School going independent in 1976. And one of the architects of that, his son is here today, that's Gerald Mortimer, and John Mortimer is here today. Thank you, John, for coming up from Wiltshire. Right? He was a county councillor, very shrewd businessman, often outspoken, upset a few people, but he had the school at heart and was generous. I was informed, but I don't know if this is true or not, so don't take it away and say it's true, right? But one year, the school realised that they weren't going to be able to pay the staff for Christmas. And he dipped his hand in his pocket and got a chequebook out and made a cheque so the school staff could be paid. Now, I don't know if that's true, but I was told by a good source that that was true. His brother John, right, did a lot for the Old Cats, right, and he ran the school at the Old Cat side of the magazine for a long, long time. But Stephen Smith drew up a 10-year plan, right, and 1976 appeal was launched. It was successful, it raised, I said, £1.5 million, right, but Gerald made a very profound statement. He said, right, the school eventually, the fees will be governed by the success of the school and how much he can demand from the parents. And that was quite a profound statement in that day, right? The school was so desperate, absolutely desperate for money. So what do? They sell off unwanted land up the hill here. Well, we haven't got to that one yet, we'll come back to that in a minute. They sold the land. You can look at that, that's worth looking at. But they sold the land up there, right? 1.5 acres of it they sold. And then somebody had a bright idea. There was a piece of furniture in Beach Hangar where the boys used to keep and treat with no respect at all. Right? They used to keep the jam pots in there, the tuck boxes, and they didn't place the tuck, but just threw the tuck boxes in. Right? And then George Beaton, the bursar, who's here today, dear of him, getting on from 92. Right? Brilliant. Thank you, George, for being here. Right? Charismatic bursar. Right? They decided to sell it. Well, first of all, they said, oh, 2,000 or 3,000. They had a look at it, came to 15,000. Then they went and sold it. You couldn't believe their luck. It sold for £75,000. The buyer had to pay 81 commission. George took his wife Mary out to the Ritz for tea. I don't know if the school paid for it. I don't think he did. George didn't pay us. George didn't pay himself. Well done, George. Right? But last year, the government put a ban on it. They wanted to be sold. They put an export ban on it, but they had to lift it. So it's now gone away. How much money did it bring last year? That piece of furniture, it had Shakespearean things on it. That's why it was worth so much money. It was in the Paris exhibition, right? And of 18, I'll get my figures right. I better get that right and told off. I don't get that correct, right? It was in the Paris exhibition, I think, of 1867. It was designed by Bruce James Talbot, and it won a silver medal. That's why it was worth so much. Right? Now, question. Where is it now? America. Who's that? Right, Lieutenant Fry. Well done. It's now in America. The museum in America. Right? On we go. I'm getting through quite quickly. George B. Right? So I he's here today. But he had one or two little things when he was here. The staff used to have a Christmas party. He used to hold a Christmas party for his domestic staff and all, anybody, all grand staff, everybody. And they used to get a bit merry at times. But we had a little chap called Little Albert. And Little Albert got in the lift, which brought the food down from the kitchens into the Wilberforce Hall. So Little Albert decided to jump into the lift, come down, and got behind George, go bang, bang! George jumped and sent him to his room. But George still owes me, right, an apology, right? Because he did a run, as you can see, from Big Ben to Land's End. And lots of people helped out in that run, including George Beaton. We had two vans. We had the sleep wagon, and we had the medical and food wagon. But George was driving the wagon, the minibus, with all the runners in it. And I was running out of Exeter, uphill. I did my fair share of running, not quite so fast as the rest, but did my fair share of running. And I saw George, he's on a different road. He was on the old road at Exeter instead of the new road. So he made me run for a long, long time. But I forgive you really, George, and it's so lovely to see you here. And that's the photograph at Land's End. Now, right, the next thing, changes at the school. Extra Stream came up in 1973, meant a lot of changes. In 1978, right, the day boys each had their own premises. Right, Hairstone's off the concourse, right, Underwood, underneath the science block, I think with the 5th form places now. All of them in Lewisham are out where the 6th form centre is. Then we had a thing called the playroom. Right? Now where is that? That is now a concourse. Right? But it's not just a concourse, all the different offices are off it for the year ends and all. That was a concourse. Now that was where all the boarders played in the bad weather, or even in the nights they were playing there. And that's obviously roller skating there. It had a very hard surface. They played cricket in there, they played hockey in there, they played everything in there. It had a big, I think it was an argon light in the middle of the room, which so you had to get a key to switch it on, right, and then you had to return the key, and God help if you didn't, right? Then what happened about the playroom? That's the playroom, now it's the catering. A bit different in those days. That was like it when I came here. Right? The master's table at the far end. Right? But during the day, right, people set up those there with a prefect at the end or a master at the end. And sometimes the masters wouldn't be quite sober enough to serve the food, so they took the prefect. Oh yes, because we used to have a period off on Fridays and Mondays. Last period on Friday mornings and Monday mornings. One was for music, one was for clubs and societies. If you didn't like, that's all, or you weren't involved in those, you could go and have a drink before lunch, right? Wouldn't be allowed now, of course not, right? And then we went from that, and we also used to have, where the 6th form centre was, that was the junior dining room. That held about 80 in there, right opposite the kitchens in those days, because the kitchens were up at that level. The catering has changed immensely, right? Look at the next one. That's a Wilberforce Hall where we met earlier on, some of this, right? But the school went to cafeteria, and now, you know, we get a marvellous service up in the refectory. Things have changed, but I am pleased to announce that today was the first time that the new kitchens at the back of the Wilberforce Hall have been opened. I had a little preview of them yesterday or the day before, and it's lovely. Much better. They can now do stuff down there to service the Wilberforce Hall. Thank you for all your help and all you do feeding the people of this school. Right, timetable games came in up to then. Right, every member of staff had to do games after school, right, twice a week. Mondays and Thursdays seniors, Tuesdays and Fridays juniors. There was no games in the timetable that came in. Late school was abandoned. We used to have late school. We used to go this time of year from now until certainly half term next term. We used to do lessons after turnouts. So in the afternoons we go to sport first and then came back at 4:30 and did lessons. The swimming pool, an extractor fan put in, right, so that means it can be used all the way year round. Right? Then we used to keep some little animals up here. Right? And that was the computer that they won. Right? And there we'll see those little animals. That not a very good one, that was a paper cutting. Right? Here's a better one. Right? Those little pigs used to keep up here on the hillside above the orchard houses. Right? That's where we used to keep them. Right? And well, we got stopped in the end. But Dr. Phillips, who used to be in charge of them, he was good at giving a tale. He could spin any yarn. Right? And I think he fabricated some of the figures because one or two farmers wrote in and said, I wish I could get my pigs to convert like they do at Caterham School. Right? But then we used to recycle the food, and then the pigs used to come back to the school eventually. Right? But then we got stopped because they said we had to cook the food before we could feed it to the pigs. So that put an end to that project. Right? School plays. There's some people here tonight who's in that school play. There are two people in that, right? I think Mr. Bagman was in that and Mr. Mears was in that play, right? I'm sure they don't be pointed out, right? But they were in that school play. You can see, right, what it was like compared with today's performance, right? That was the one they did, right, in the school. I think that's brilliant, absolutely brilliant. But you see, you had to make all the scenery before. Now we can afford to hire scenery in. Times have changed. Good. It's lovely to see a production like that. And I've got to thank the drama department for all they've done in helping me to put this together. Right? Now, next photograph going to be. Carry on. Watch carefully the next photograph. The first lot of day girls in 1981, and I'm absolutely delighted that there's 4 or 5 of them here tonight, and some from the year. Thank you, ladies. You've stuck together like magnets. Right? It's been lovely. How many people are in that photograph? 11! 11! Right! Good, good lady at present. That must be one of the girls themselves. Right? 11. Right? 11. Now, what did the girls look like? What did the girls look like then? Can we have a girl? Where's my little girl? Right? In what attire she had then? I hope she's going to appear. Right? I'm waiting. Something's happening. Here comes somebody from the duck. Hi! It's Nell Fay. Right? And here she has, right, a long skirt. Now, they had to be quite long, right? I think they had to be at least below the knees. And Mrs. Kearney used to be very strict on how long they were. Thank you, my dear. That's very kind of you. But now it was very interesting because when the girls came, obviously they didn't do much sport, and for a year or so. In the second year, they had enough to make a hockey team, and I think they were coached by Mr. Tuck, and who unfortunately died earlier this year. I'm pleased to say, hockey's come back into the school, and we've seen hockey in the school this term for the very first time for a long, long time. Right? Now, you've got to listen very carefully now. You've got to listen very carefully. So listen, it's coming.
Oh, you can't be serious, man. You cannot be serious!
Who's that voice? Who? John McEnroe. I mean, his little entretien with that man there, Edward James. He was an old boy in school, and he was the man who was umpiring that night. Right? He's still alive, and he lives down in Wales. He was president of the Lefty Rugby Club at one stage, but he was a great tennis umpire. But I don't know if he'd ever forgiven McEnroe or McEnroe ever forgiven him. I don't quite know. Then we move on to the centenary of the move from Lewisham to Caterham in 1984. Right? And in case you couldn't read the writing at the top, it's Young's Brewery. Right? And the reason that we had Young's Brewery is that Roger Deaton had shares in that company, and he's able to get them to come along and supply us with the horses and drays. Right? And that is us leaving Lewisham. We left a little road called Viney Road in Lewisham, still Viney Road, it's a block of flats now, and we walked all the way, right? And it'd be surprising, very few hills from Lewisham to here. But we did stop at the Gloucester, right? I think that's the end of White Horse Lane, I think it is, right? For some light refreshments at lunchtime, because that was the Young's pub, right? And then when we got near to the school, right, I was headmaster until then, but I had to get off, and Stephen Smith got on instead. I was only right by the right person, right? And he was dressed as Mr. Rudd, Reverend Rudd, who was the first headmaster, right, of when the school moved here, right? And it was a good journey. We enjoyed ourselves, and we had a nice time. Now we get down to the front of school, right? And that's the gates at the front of school. Now they were opened in 1984 by David Starmer, who did lots of things in his time at school, right? He was a very good cricketer, hit sixes everywhere, right? He was chairman of the Parents Association, chairman of the Fate, right? President of the Old Boys, right? The real stalwart of the school. He opened that in 1984. Now, that is still there, but behind that wall, what is it? What's behind that wall? What's behind that wall?
Minibuses.
No, not first. The Versus department, right? Or the finance department now, right? But who lived there? Roy Williams. Right, Roy Williams lived there, right, when this took place. Roy was there. Roy served the school for 40 years as a school engineer. Right, he saw it change from being coke boilers to gas, oil boilers to gas boilers. He did everything in the school. He was on call night and day, right? And it's nice that his wife is here tonight, and his son still does a lot in the school, right? I think his son looks after the fire appliances in the school to make sure we kept safe tonight, right? And it was lovely that his granddaughter came here as well and left a couple of years ago. But Anne was a great support to him. She did a lot in the school, right? And I think one of her most important things was that she made a lot of costumes for school plays. I think Monica Churchill and other people, right, would have benefited the time that Anne spent making costumes. It's nice to have you here tonight, Anne. I think this is a photograph of Elijah, right, done in the City Temple in London in 1981. In 1984, we all went to the City Temple for a service to commemorate the school's 100 years being at Caterham. And Andrew Leach, who conducted the choir then, and the orchestra as well, of course, is here tonight. He was the director of music. Thank you for coming down from Ipswich, Andrew, to be here with us. He's going to set out to sing later on, I'm sure. Right? And you're going to help to sing as well. Right? We had a special train to go up there. Right? And we've produced cardboard tickets, which I've still got some of, 3 of. Right? And then the photograph of the 1983 staff. It was 50 of us. 20 in the 50s and 60s, 50 in 1983. Now you recognise quite a few there, but not too carefully. Right? That's all the staff, that's prep school and main school. Today, I think we've got over 130 altogether staff in both schools. Right? You'll recognise a lot of people there. Then, something very important happened in 1987. We had a thing called a storm, in case you've forgotten about that. Right? A storm came, oh yes, what you've seen you can recognise there. I'm sure there's quite a lot of staff you can recognise. Right? We had a storm, the only building that got really, really down, a lot of trees came down everywhere, which is devastating. But the only trees that really done any damage was the one that went through the CCF hut. Now the CCF hut, here we have the changeover from 574 Squadron to the Combined Cadet Force. The person on the right is Mr. Stoll, Lenny Stoll, right? Grandfather, right, preparing to tonight. And on the left, right, is Brian Page. Brian Page and his wife Enid have come down from Sunderland today to be with us. Their son, Kevin, is the commanding officer of the present CCF. Thank you, Brian and Enid, for making that splendid journey to be here with us. CCF, and that's John Armitage, who has served the CCF for lots of years, given up a lot of time, and even in retirement, he still comes in. I don't know why that's so much in retirement, I can understand that. Okay? Right, but he still comes in and supports the school. And the other person sitting up there with them is John Bleach. Right? Now, John Bleach has devoted the whole of his life to this place. Right? He ran the debating society, he ran numerous teams, right? He was in the CCF, right? And he was always prepared to do anything for anybody, right? A great man. John, you would be missed. Occasionally things do go wrong, right? And there's 1 or 2 things that pass under the radar system. And this one here passed under the radar system, right? Very few people know about this. It's in the magazine, it's not a secret photograph, but the person on the left is not Stephen Smith. It's Stephen Smith's photograph on top of somebody else's head. Oh, yeah. because the football team, Stephen was a big rugby player and didn't have so much time for football, you can understand that. Right? But these people always wanted a football team. But there's one way of getting to the top, and that's to do something like this. Because 2 of these people now are headmasters. They're running schools. John Watson is one that's running Badlake School in Coventry, right? And Darrell Weidman is running our sister school, Silcoats, in Wakefield. So you see, if you do things like this, you can get to the top. That's what they call it, initiative these days. Right? And then came the big word, right? Merger. The merger of the Oatham. Stephen Smith along with Anne Coots, right, brought about the merger of the Oatham and Caterham. Right? Talk started in 1973 and a full major merger took place in 1955, September 1955. Right? 1995. Right, sorry about that, 1995. Unfortunately, right, Stephen wasn't here to see the merger take place. Rob Davey came, right? Was Rob? He came in Easter 1995 and took over. Then he implemented, right, the full merger. And what difference it's made, right? It's made a difference in all aspects. I think when the merger took place, some of our financial worries went away, or at least they were reduced, right? There were a few obstacles. Not everybody was happy. You'll never please everybody. You try to please the majority. And the one that upset some people, I can understand why. Right? But I think they look back now, they say, what a great place it is. And that was the crest. Right? Some old ones were very upset that the school crest was not on the present badge. Right? But I think what we've got, I think people now respect us. Right? The school has gone from strength to strength. I think the merger went off much, much better than everybody expected. The changeover was good, but unfortunately, when Stephen left and Rob came, it was not a very happy occasion. Not a very happy occasion at all. Stephen said to Brian Dunphy, Brian, he said, I'm going in 2 hours' time. I'm going to drop some bags outside of my study. When I'm gone, would you make sure you take those bags and you burn them? Yes, Mr. Smith, I will do that. Well, Brian came back 2.5 hours later, picked up all the bags, took them up to the incinerator, which is now where the refectory is, and was busy burning away. About 20 minutes into burning, 2 frantic people appeared. Mr. and Mrs. Davy appeared. Rob and Anne appeared. Brian said, I thought it was strange that some money fell out of the bags. I didn't think Stephen Smith would leave me any money, right? He'd picked up not only Stephen Smith's bags, he'd also picked up all of Rob Davies' bags and burnt them as well. And that included all of Rob Davies' notes, his bank details, everything. I think they tried to salvage what they could to show the insurance company, right? But I suppose it's always difficult when you have to get 2 Irishmen together. Now Brian, unfortunately not here, I thought he was going to be here tonight, unfortunately not. Great man, right? Sole caretaker, security guard, painter, cleaner, everything Brian would do it, right? He was always here, right? And we, you know, since he's gone, right, I'm pleased to say that I still see him, right? He's still alive and still well. Now, there was massive changes in this merger. 4, 1 and 2 came up to the main school. Boarding stopped in the prep school. We took, pre-prep was opened up, taking people from 3 up to 11 in the prep school, or the pre-prep and the prep school. Right? We changed the house structure. Right? The pastoral care, instead of being in the houses, then became in the years. Houses still exist, right, for activities, sport and drama and everything else, but the academic side and the pastoral side was taken over by year heads. Right, originally, it was run by a master, a second master, and occasionally a director of studies. That was all the people who ran the school at top. In 1971, we did add another tier, the senior master. And the first senior master was John Bloom, a real stalwart of the school. Valerie's wife is here tonight. Nice to see you, Valerie. Right? He spent lots of hours here. He was very good at welcoming people into the school. Right? Sad thing, well, what else came? The lacrosse. Lacrosse came. And we've been very successful at it. Right? The sad thing was in 1998, the death of Robert Jones. It shook the whole school. Robert joined the staff with John Jones in 1966, right? During the 1966 World Cup, He was personal chauffeur to Sir Stanley Rouse, President of FIFA. He was a great maths teacher. He took over from Ed Smitheram as head of maths. He was head of Viney. He organised a sponsored walk to buy the first minibus, and he organised numerous trips. Right? But one of his great things was winning the London quiz. Right? He spent hours with the boys preparing for the London quiz, and it was great that he and the team won. Right, we'll move on. Right, things have changed. Bible ceremony. That used to, right, be on the last day of term, right, in the Memorial Hall. There are 6 used to go to it, right, and staff. But it's nice now that we've moved to having it here with parents and staff and pupils, for anybody who can come to it, and I think that is lovely. I think it's one of the bits of the school that I still love is the Bible service. I've only missed one in my 47 years, right? It's one of the things, that was last year, right? It means a lot to me. I think it means a lot not to the children necessarily when they do it, is when they've left this place in a few years' time. They'll think back to that last time that they were all together as a body before they broke up to do their exams. Right? Speech day. Speech day used to be on last day of term. I know say it is now. But it didn't for a long time. Speech day was on last day of term. And after Stephen Smith's been here a few years, he was appalled. After one speech day, he went around and the state of the place. He couldn't believe it, what state it was in. So he said, never again. Speech day will not be on the last day of term. And for lots of years, speech day was nearly a week before the end of term. But now we've gone back to having speech day, coupled with obviously the Parents Association ball, right? And I do like it personally on the last day of term. But I understand the reason why it was changed. Now, recent improvements. Recent improvements. Right? What's happened? Since the merger, the school has gone from leaps and bounds. Bob Davey, and Julian Thomas, and now Kerry Jones. They've taken the school, right, to a new level. Right? There has been marked improvement in the academic results, right, and in all other aspects of the school. It is a very busy place now. They say you can tell how healthy a school is by the number of school buildings, new buildings. Here we have an opening, right, in 2008. Right, this is the opening, or not the opening, the unveiling of the plaque for the Stephen Smith Sports Centre. It was actually built in, I think, 1996, 1997. That's when it actually built. That was when it was opened. Then another angle on the, there it is, with the all-weather down below. That's not the present all-weather pitch. The present all-weather pitch has been laid down a few months now, a year, I think, nearly. Brilliant, looks lovely, right? That gave a good perspective of what it was like. Because you see, up behind there used to be the CCF hut. And on the end of the CCF hut used to be a rifle range. And the rifle range, John Ward is here tonight. He spent many hours up there with Don Selden shooting. I'm not shooting Don Selden, shooting at targets, right? And also the CCF obviously used it as well. But with the building of that had to go. So we lost the rifle range. There was some talk once of putting it underground. But I think Tom Lane put end to that. Right? So that's why we never got the thing underground. What else have we done? The Davey building. The 3 headmasters. The 3 rows in front of the Davey building. Right? And that was opened in 2007. Great, lovely to have such good science facilities, envied by lots of schools around. Our science facilities are some of the best I've seen. right? And obviously the dining room and everything else, right? Yes, we do stretch it. The school's got bigger, right? We do stretch everything here to the limit, right? But that's good, right? That's the Pye building, the Pye Sixth Form Centre. Why is it called the Pye Sixth Form Centre? It's after those two ladies. On the left, Catherham Pye, and on the right, Winifred Pye. They were the founders of the Caterham School, right? And the Caterham School was in existence for just over 100 years before the merger. And in the next photograph, right, is Sir Geoffrey Howe, but the lady hiding right in between, or to the, as we look at it, to the right of Sir Geoffrey Howe, right, that is Miss Rain. And Miss Rain was the last, I'm going to say, real headmistress of Eothen, because Mrs. Coates wasn't there for very long before the merger. But Miss Rain was there for a long time, and I'm absolutely delighted that Miss Rain, right, is here tonight. Thank you, Miss Rain, for coming. Sykes, and she came up to the school when the merger took place, right? Staff, when the merger took place, I thought on the whole, we were all integrated extremely well, right? We helped each other, and it was very sad this summer to see our last one, Hilary Triane, right, leave the school. She was the last Eothen member of staff up here, right? But I think that side, the integration, there was not much hard feeling at all. I say very little hard feeling between the staff. I think it went off extremely well. The next thing, I think that's a lovely photograph. It's taken by a drone, right? And that is the new sports complex, a new pavilion, right? For those who remember the old pavilions, old doors in front years ago. I've still got 4 in the bottom of my garden, but they were too bad right? My wife and myself went to have a look at them, but they were in an unfit state, right? Inside that building is a Leatham room, which I'm delighted is named after Terry Leatham, and then it's the Old Boys Terrace as well, the old Caterhamians Terrace, which the Old Boys put a lot of money towards. And then we move on. Ah, where's that? Who lives there? The headmaster, right? The headmaster lives there. But the name of his house is Burns House. And I was so delighted when I came back here in September and they told me it was called Burns House after all the contacts I've had with the Burns family over the last 2 or 3 years. We've always kept in contact, but more so the last 2 or 3 years. Right? And then, just a few weeks ago, the Centre for Performing Arts was opened. And one of the rooms is in memory of right, Mr. Deaton, Roger Deaton, and I'm pleased that his 2 sons are here today, right? I think it was a great honour. It was a pity, right, that a few months ago, a few years ago, we did put a pavilion on the hill, but it got burnt down. But I think this is a much more fitting, right, for him to have the room in the performing arts named after him, right? And then we go on, and that is the Hillfield development. That's going to be, that's the thing that's ongoing at the moment, right? And you'll be pleased to know I shan't be very long, right? The pastoral care of staff has improved immensely over the years. When I came here first, right, if you were in a single department, here you are, there's the books, get on, teach it, right, that was it. I was very fortunate. I was very fortunate indeed. Right, Ed Smitham was here tonight, fellow Cornishman, right? I think they were desperate when they appointed me, right, because it's the end of June, right? But the dear of him, so I've got 1 or 2 little things down here which are going to come out. This is not the staff handbook of today. This is my personal handbook that I had from Ed Smitham. Written in his handwriting, right? He told me, yes, you're a Cornishman, they might take a bit of notice of your accent and rib you a bit about it. He said, be firm, right? So you can always slack them off, right? He said, we call people by surnames, But when you get to know them well, especially the sixth form, you might be able to call them by Christian names, right? But if you read this here document, it's just the same as what you're writing today in a big handbook for all staff. But Ed, you did a marvellous job. You're a great head of department. I owe you a lot. And I'm so pleased that you and Anne, poor Anne, she had to suffer. Right? Ed is a Redruth man. Anne was a nurse in my local hospital, Hale, St Michael's, and my sister-in-law still works there. Right? But it's no longer run by the nuns, it's run by the National Health Service, so therefore nowhere near as good as it used to be. Right? We're coming on to one of the people who's given a lifetime of service to the school, Arthur Davis Jones. Right? He was a boy here. Right? He was a master here all his life. When he retired in 1965, right, he went on and he ran the editor of the old boys section, the old Caterham section of the magazine. He had two daughters, right, Claire and Gillian. Unfortunately, they can't be with us tonight for various reasons, of bereavements and not being also being unwell. Right? But a lot of people here owe a lot to Arthur Davis Jones. I think especially some of the older ones here who came through under him, right, held him in high regard. He also wrote Debtors, right, which is the school song, which we're going to be singing. Some people here, I want a lot to come down in a minute to sing it. Before I do that, I have forgotten one person. And that is Robert Charlesworth. Robert Charlesworth, right, will be leaving in a few weeks' time, and he's done a great job, right, as the estate's person. Can I wish you and Lynn a very happy retirement. John Jones, yes, I'm doing well, I'm okay. John Jones, right, will be conducting the choir. John came to the school in 1966, same time as Robert Jones. He's made a housemaster of Townsend, and during his time he made vast improvements to the house, including laying himself carpet tiles. This meant the boys could walk on something a little smoother than wooden boards. Right, he also ran the boarders' choir, was also head of chemistry. I was delighted when he was my assistant at Beach Hanger when he came and told me he was getting married. I thought, what a brilliant idea. Right? I thought he got past that time, but it was lovely. Right, and Angela's here, and the son Adam has come through the school. Adam went on to Cambridge and is now teaching at Whitgift. I'm sure doing a good job. Now, before we get too far along the way, right, I have a little special gift down here for someone. Would a gentleman on the front row by the name of Nick Werman come and receive from me a mass book with his name on it? I taught physics in the prep school. I taught him maths in the main school, but I didn't keep his maths book because if he looked, he had somebody else's writing. He must have carried this book into the sixth form with him because there's some other members. I don't know whose writing that is, right? So, is it Phil Tresidder's, is it? Did he teach you? Right, that could be Phil Tresidder's writing. Right? But I found it in my garage. That was in 1973, I think. Right, 1973, he got his book back. But I also found one of my books from when I was 11, but I won't go into that. One of my maths books.
That's incredible.
Now, sitting down the front row, right, there should have been 3 gentlemen, it's 2, right? Nigel, Mason, and John Dogwell, right? To me, these are people who are salt of this school, salt of the earth. They give up so much time, right, making the place run. Nigel with the transport, and John keeping the grounds in such splendid condition. If you've seen the photograph that the drone took, you'll think it's a masterpiece. You think it's a book. Lovely lines, everything. John, you've done a great job, mate. We do appreciate what you've done. Right? Now, the other person who isn't here is Brian Dunphy, so I'm going to say something about him. Right? So first of all, I would like everyone who would like, you've got your programme in front of you, I would like as many Caterhamians and guests or anybody else to come down here, and I expect it to be the last time to sing Debtors. John Jones is going to conduct it, and a gentleman hopefully going to play the piano. Right? So could all those people come down, please, right, for Debtors. Everybody down here, please, come on. Old boys, come on, way down here. Right? Anybody else as well? Come on. As many as possible. Come on. Let's go to sing Debtors. Come on. Come on, Nick. Everybody can sing. Come on. Just everybody down here. Girls and boys. Girls and boys. Yeah. Everybody, please. Come on, everybody down here. Right, brothers. Go down that road. Come on.
Oh, yeah, fine.
Oh, we're doing very well. We're doing very well. We're doing more. Oh, it's brilliant. Absolutely brilliant. It's over to you, Mr. Jones.
Get 7. Try that way. No, you can see.
Swim and to run in
getting here, we take it for granted far too often how nice this place is. And I think I wanted always to finish tonight with two things. One is Jerusalem, and one is National Anthem, because the Queen has been, right, overseeing us all the time that we've been talking about these 60 years. Now I'm going to ask everyone here to upstand and sing with heart, at full voice, right, Jerusalem and the National Anthem. So could you please be upstanding? One announcement to make, ladies and gentlemen, a very special announcement. Before I wish you all a safe journey home, thank you for coming. I hope you've enjoyed this evening. I have, preparing it. Right? The special announcement is this. Earlier on we talked about the direct grant system and how that gave a broad base to our people in the school. I'm pleased to say that the school is looking at ways of broadening the base from where it stands at the moment. And I wish them, it was one of the things I said in my leaving speech, right, 10 years ago, right, I love the school, but it has become quite narrow in its base, and I'm so pleased that Mr. Jones and in the future is looking at expanding that base out to give less fortunate people in our community a chance of coming to this great school. And it is a great school, right? I've enjoyed my association with it. I still enjoy it. I came back and taught a bit in the beginning of this year, right? The children are still lovely, but the staff are committed, right? And I'm delighted, sir, that you're going to broaden that base out. Thank you.
Adamant at the start that I shouldn't introduce him, and is just as adamant I shouldn't say much about him at the end. But it would be remiss for me not to say thank you to David. It was interesting hearing him talk. I met David for the first time 20 years ago when I first came to school, and he talked about pastoral care to us and a bit about sport. And David was chairman of the common room when I was here the first time around. And I remember very clearly his advice in the common room. From 1996 to 1997, about how to deal with unruly young students. And those of you who know David well will have heard about his helicopter routine, which is where he would pick a boy up, hold him above his head, and spin him. And that was his strong advice back in 1996. And my second memory was or is about the most remarkable piece of refereeing I think I've ever seen in sport. David won't remember this, but he and I once took a rugby team down to Christ's Hospital, I think it was, for the under-16 team. And as ever, we got off the bus and the boys got changed. And their referee hadn't turned up. So David refereed. I'm just laughing thinking about it. David on the pitch next to me, he refereed his rugby match in his Wellington boots. And your suit, in this drizzle. And I just have this very, very vivid mental picture of David standing on the centre spot for 40 minutes. How did you? She did. As this game took place around you, blowing a whistle from time to time. Listen, we've got a couple of gifts for you. One for you, but of course one for the most important person, which is Lillian, who must have put up with an absolute nightmare for the last year or 2 years, or however long you've been planning. So Lillian, don't move from there, but we've got some flowers for you. So thank you very much for letting David do that. And David, I know you don't like a drink, but we thought we'd get you a drink anyway. So thank you very much.
People